Greetings, you're watching Our Money, a program on anti-corruption investigations. My name is Bihus, and today we will tell you about Mykola Zlochevskyi, about his return. The news about his return to Ukraine surfaced a month ago. He is a legendary figure of the times of... No, that's wrong. The Yanukovych times cliché is not appropriate here, because Zlochevskyi didn't remain in the past. He's still here today, and most of his legendary deeds were made after the revolution, because his schemes and shady deals under Yanukovych are not to be compared with the criminal cases against him, which did not achieve anything. While 3 prosecutor generals reported on TV about investigating his crimes, Zlochevsky's business in Ukraine didn't just grow, it didn't just develop, it opened whole new lines of business. Zlochevskyi was preparing for his return the day after he fled. Now, Lesia Ivanova's report on how to defeat the Prosecutor General's office and how to open new lines in exile. Morning. Kiev Reservoir Dam. A thoroughly tinted minivan exits a giant mansion and heads for Kiev. Morning. Outskirts of Kiev. Fit men gathered around a house with no apparent identification signs. In an hour, the familiar minivan approached the house, took half a dozen of the men, and left the city. Its everyday itinerary is Dam Kiev Dam, and not only its. At least 4 minivans and an off-roadster transport service personnel and guards by this route. They drive them to these buildings. These monstrous mansions are the palaces of the person who once fled from Yanukovych's team and is now a prime businessman, fully rehabilitated by the police. The palaces of Mykola Zlochevskyi. At the beginning of the year, the disgraced ex-minister was thought to be in hiding. Actually, he was taken off the wanted list in September. A month ago in the news, all the criminal cases against him are closed. Zlochevskyi is coming back. Zlochevskyi didn't officially confirm this, but considering how his mansions are bustling with activity, we can conclude that either the master is at home or he will be soon. Mykola Zlochevskyi is one of the most nefarious politicians of Yanukovych's era and beyond. Zlochevskyi was thrice MP, twice from the Party of Regions, Minister of Ecology 2010 to 2012. Since 2012 and until the Euromaidan, he was head of the Economical Security Department of the National Defense Council. His most prominent enterprises are Burisma, the 3rd biggest natural gas producer in Ukraine, and Infox, which controls the Odessa water supply network. Zlochevskyi was allegedly among the richest ministers and devoured pierogies in huge quantities. Euromaidan spoiled Zlochevsky's pierogies. Several criminal cases are open against him. Ex-Minister of Ecology Zlochevsky's property accounts and funds are under arrest. He is put on the wanted list. Criminal tax evasion schemes for approximately $40 million for the past 2 years. He flees the country. We have a number of cases opened about events which Zlochevskyi may be involved in. One of the most nefarious ministers under Yanukovych, Zlochevskyi was a part of many a corruption scheme. His ministry embezzled hundreds of thousands of dollars. His subordinates handed licenses to his own companies. The companies evaded taxes. A total of 6 criminal cases were opened against Zlochevskyi himself, his companies, and his ministry. The law enforcement agencies had to put a lot of effort to bury all the cases in just 4 years. But they have succeeded. In the next 5 to 6 minutes, we will try to tell the story of the rise and fall of, no, not Zlochevsky, but of the Prosecutor General's office. This is rather hard because the cases there have been opened, transferred, and of course closed incredibly fast. Pay attention to the graphical tips. You are one of the richest Ukrainian ministers in office. That's what they write. That's how it is. Well, in that case, I think it is. They all write that I'm one of the richest ministers because I honestly declare my profits. I can afford driving a... After the revolution, the prosecutors found money of unknown origin on Zlochevsky's corporate accounts. Oh, I have to specify British prosecutors. $23.5 million were discovered of unknown origin on Zlochevsky's company accounts. A case was opened, the accounts were arrested. The British have noticed that Zlochevsky got millions of dollars from Sergei Korchenko. The notorious young oligarch was already on the EU sanctions list, so his money was considered dirty. Then, the British Serious Fraud Office asked the Ukrainian Prosecutor General's office to help. They wanted the Prosecutor General's office to provide any basic evidence. After the British request, the Prosecutor General's office opens its own case against the ex-minister with the same charges, embezzlement and money laundering. The Serious Fraud Office had to wait 6 months for a reply and got it 2 days before the court hearing in London. What the Prosecutor General's office did was to give a document they didn't have to give to Zlochevsky's lawyer, saying that the office did not have any accusations against Zlochevsky. The Prosecutor General's office, under Vitaly Yarema, sends a concise answer to Britain. Zlochevsky is officially not under suspicion. The answer kills the British case. The London court lifts the arrest of the accounts. Then the PGO does indict Zlochevsky, begins an investigation, and even arrests his monstrous mansions by the dam. Well, now we know that the prosecutors will run out of stamina, but then it seemed as if they really went all out on Zlochevsky. Aside from the embezzlement and money laundering, the Fiscal Service and the PGO started to investigate his business. The company group currently known as Burisma was created in 2002. At first, they extracted natural gas for state companies. Then, they got a license for their own wells. Now, Burisma has 33 deposits in 8 regions of Ukraine. They produce around 1 billion square meters of gas annually, which is worth around $400 million. In summer 2015, the Prosecutor General's office under Shokin opens a case for illegally obtained gas extraction licenses. One of the top priority tasks of my office is to transfer to court all the criminal cases against senior officials who took part in the criminal activities of Yanukovych's regime, to return all the money stolen from the state. This should have been easy. We have the minister Zlochevsky, we have the geology service under his management, we have this service giving out licenses for gas extraction to ministers' own companies. The PGO has investigated the embezzlement and illegal licenses for a year or so. Both cases met a common end, but in different ways. We've always had questions about Zlochevsky, but now they became more substantial concerning his activities on the natural gas market in Ukraine. In 2016, Yuri Lutsenko becomes the Prosecutor General. His office transfers the illegal case to the newly created National Anti-Corruption Bureau, so we will talk about it later. The case of Zlochevsky's embezzlement remains in the PGO, undergoing a dramatic transformation. As soon as Yuri Lutsenko became the Prosecutor General, the criminal case on Zlochevsky's embezzlement transformed into a criminal case on tax evasion by Zlochevsky's corporate accountant. The PGO had to investigate the origin of Zlochevsky's money, but they quickly forgot about that and started trying to figure out whether he had paid taxes. Public attention shifted from Zlochevsky to the Prosecutor General, who started frequently appearing on TV. Searches were conducted in Kiev region, and 3 other regions of the country. The new case opened by the PGO wasn't a threat to Zlochevsky, but allowed the Prosecutor General to tell astonishing facts on TV. The investigation of a tax evasion scheme for approximately 400 million for 2 years. A case for 1 billion hryvnia. In July 2016, every TV channel broadcasted the Prosecutor General's bombshell report on the incredible figures. The total amount of taxes evaded is 400 million for 2 years. The PGO's version told that the Burisma Group companies evaded taxes by illegally cashing out the money. The company connected to the ex-minister Mykola Zlochevsky is suspected of tax evasion. Summer and fall of 2016 are spent waiting for the return of those $400 million. While the PGO waited, it lost any interest towards Zlochevsky it had. The case against Zlochevsky as a person is closed in November 2016, and after about a month after it was closed, a person looking very similar to Zlochevsky was cited in Vienna in a restaurant with Igor Koronenko, Poroshenko's right-hand man. If there's any connection between this meeting and the event that transpired later, this would mean that having a coffee with the president's friend cost him $30 million. In February 2017, the PGO reported that its suspicions were correct. Zlochevsky repaid the taxes, lots of taxes. As to Zlochevsky, I can now calmly look into your and society's eyes. The inspection estimated $6 million in taxes. All $6 million were paid to the state budget a week after the inspection's results came out. This is the biggest sum of tax debt paid in the history of independent Ukraine. Our calculations using the judicial registry gave us only $5 million, while Lutsenko told about $6 million on the briefing. In an answer to our written request, the PGO stated the amount was $7 million. Even if Burisma really paid $7 million, the discrepancy between Lutsenko's statements is disconcerting. The total amount of taxes evaded is $400 million for 2 years. All $6 million were paid a week after the inspection's results came out. How $400 million suddenly shrank to $6 million is unknown, because that case didn't reach court. The PGO and Burisma made a deal. The total amount of taxes evaded is $400 million for 2 years. All $6 million were paid a week after the inspection's results came out. While Burisma was minimizing fines from minimizing taxes with the PGO, the case on illegal gas extraction licenses was traveling through the cabinets of NABU. It had 6 more months to travel. NABU detectives were investigating this case, but in August 2017, the Specialized Anti-Corruption Prosecutor's Office decided to close the case. The anti-corruption prosecutors passed the bill to NABU, accusing the detectives of insufficient proof of crime. The story about the extraction licenses did eventually end up in court, but not as a criminal case against Zlochevsky personally. His companies were going to lose the licenses because it turned out that Burisma didn't have all the necessary permits when it obtained the licenses. So the NABU detectives put together a full set of documents and gave it to the anti-corruption prosecutors to file a lawsuit. The law provided the prosecutors with 6 months to file a lawsuit. They did it in 7 months. This was a grave judicial error, and I doubt it was an accidental one. The latest criminal case against Zlochevsky was opened and closed by the PGO so fast that nobody even heard about its existence. The case was about this object in Kherson region. This is the Kherson oil transfer facility. Poroshenko paid Zlochevsky millions of dollars exactly for this facility, which had sparked the British investigators' interest. 3 years after the British letter, the PGO started wondering, how did Zlochevsky get this once state-owned facility in the first place. It was a classic scheme. Zlochevsky and the government created a joint enterprise. The state invested the transfer facility, evaluated it at $350,000, while Zlochevsky had to invest $1 million in real money, take control of the business, and develop it. In reality, Zlochevsky invested only $270,000, but as soon as he took control, he put the asset through a series of resales through his companies. At the end of the chain was Korchenko, who bought the oil transfer facility for almost $10 million. The case was quietly opened and was soon just as quietly dropped. The allegations were serious: appropriation of property, but they didn't find the actus reus. Don't know why they even bothered. 2 criminal cases are still open. Well, it's more like they just exist. Firstly, because there isn't much work being done. Secondly, because they pose no risk to Zlochevsky personally. One case being about his ex-employees, the other is about his companies. Basically, both we and Zlochevsky can consider all 6 cases to be dropped. If we are to believe the fugitive MP Alexander Onyshenko, the cases were dropped by a direct deal between Zlochevsky and Ihor Kononenko, the person with whom he was seen in Vienna. Zlochevsky complained to me that Kononenko flies here. I ask him, they just take the money and do nothing. They're well off sitting somewhere far away, getting $1 million per month from me without letting me in. I want to resolve this for sure. I want the case closed so that I can return. That's why I'm proposing them a large sum. I think $2 million is very good. We trust this recording because it wasn't made yesterday, but when Onyshenko still talked. And the things he said perfectly explain the logic of the later developments. Half a dozen criminal cases, several years of sensational reports, but today for Zlochevsky it's just okay. He's better than he was before. While Zlochevsky's criminal cases wither, his business flourishes. To tell you the truth, they flourished even while he was on the wanted list. The gas company group Burisma got additional extraction licenses. Today, it is the second biggest private natural gas company in Ukraine. State officials are seen with Zlochevsky not only at secret restaurant meetings, no, now they also take pictures together at official events. Kyiv is covered in banners advertising a new shoe boutique called Zlochevskyi. All this isn't even a half of what's really happening. Did you know that just after the revolution, Zlochevsky laid the foundation of his very own port? Did you know that in a couple of years we would get a new Zlochevsky, a progressive investor of an industrial park for state money? You didn't, so watch next. Not only the mansions by the dam bustle with life, Zlochevsky's office does too. This is the most famous nest of his companies. A large business center and a small building beside it, almost inconspicuous if not for the abundant security cameras. All of our heroes are here, both the Burisma company group and another large company of Zlochevsky, Infox. 1 Land Cruiser, 2 Land Cruisers. Lots of off-roadsters here. Infox bought a batch of them last year. That is, Zlochevsky's doing really well. Here's that Outlander that constantly goes to the dam. You know what? Let's drive around too, somewhere far from Kyiv, but here's a spoiler. All the roads will still lead here. Odessa region, small Egelik estuary. All its coast is occupied by the Yuzhny port. Cargo is received by both private terminals of the TIS group and the namesake state enterprise Yuzhny. It's very possible that Zlochevsky's enterprise will soon join these 2 powerful businesses, and it will grow on the basis of the state-owned terminal. This terminal was built to receive sand for the building of the port itself, and for the needs of the companies which shared the water area. That's why it's called the sand terminal. The sand terminal, officially number 38, is an orphan at the Yuzhny port. 5 main terminals are on the right bank of the estuary, while the sand terminal is on the left one. In 2014, when Zlochevsky was being indicted, his companies were buying land around the terminal. 5 companies bought or rented a total of 80 hectares for construction of maritime transport. The owners of these companies are hidden in offshores, but the managers' addresses and phone numbers lead to Zlochevsky, and it's a short way. All the companies are or were headed by Zlochevsky's managers. The companies are registered in Zlochevsky's main business nest, and their contact numbers are the numbers of Zlochevsky's infox reception. After Zlochevsky encircled the terminal, the Ministry of Infrastructures decided to lease the terminal to someone. In February 2016, the ministry contacted us and asked to describe how the terminal functions, how it's equipped, what its structure is. After this sudden outburst of interest, the ministry fell silent for 1.5 years. Meanwhile, the terminal is managed by the state port. We managed to attract new cargo for the enterprise, that is, products of wood industry, and from this experimental shipping, we got around $43,000 in additional income for the enterprise. But in November 2017, the ministry approved a new development strategy for the state port. It has only 3 points, and one of them is leasing the sand terminal. The terminal practically surrounded by Zlochevsky's proxies. It's clear who would get the most benefit from renting it, while the state port wants to continue managing it itself. In the short term, I mean a year with a positive result, with successful negotiations and deals, it can bring around $650,000 of additional income for the enterprise. But he doesn't get to decide. The ministry and the state property fund do. Neither the ex-minister's companies nor the Ministry of Infrastructure commented on the state port's interest. But the Yuzhny port isn't the only project of Zlochevsky's group, which was reactivated last fall, exactly after Zlochevsky and his companies got off the hook. This snow-covered field on the outskirts of Novi Petrivtsy village is currently empty, but it's 100 hectares big and won't stay empty for long. It's not going to become the new Mezhihirya. It will have something new, something Zlochevsky's, and maybe even something state-funded. Novi Petrivtsy village became famous under Yanukovych because of his Mezhihirya residence, but soon the village may become famous because of another object. They don't even know what's going to be there themselves. I remember when in 2013 potential investors came, even foreigners, wanted to build a shopping mall there, but they couldn't agree on the specifics of a certain part of the plot and they refused. I'm not ready to say what's going to happen at this time. The head of the village can't tell us about the land which was rented by the Kievshchina company 10 years ago. During these 10 years, nothing was happening here, but as it was the case with the port, the work started here last fall. In September 2017, the public company Kievshchina adopted a concept of an industrial park, a territory with an infrastructure designed to house various enterprises. In a month, the Ministry of Economics put the public company on the official registry, which means that the company will get tax privileges, rent discounts, 0 tariffs for import of equipment, and even interest-free loans using budget funds, as well as state budget financing. Who's going to get all these niceties? You won't be able to visit this ambitious company with grand plans. I'm so fed up with them, registering their companies in residential buildings. Neither can you call them. With the director. I can't give you his phone number. You can try to contact him if you track him down. 76% of the future industrial park led us through 2 companies, right to the main office of Zlochevsky, ex-fugitive minister turned respectable businessman and he will have plenty of room. After the revolution, Zlochevsky's satellite companies bought more land around the future industrial giant, reaching a total of 222 hectares. The Novi Petrivsky village council assures us that they haven't heard about Zlochevsky before, haven't heard about it in the context of the tech park. But on our request to contact the company's representative, we were given contacts of a certain Mikola. Are you Mikola Alexandrovich? So what? The village head gave me your number, told me that he talked to you last week. And I'm telling you it's the wrong number. Excuse me, what's your last name? It doesn't matter. Actually, it does. Mikola Alexandrovich's last name is Herasimchuk. He is the head of Zlochevsky's head company, Infox. Yanukovych is coming. That's a pain in the ass. Actually, Zlochevsky's 2 cooperations with the state ended in criminal cases. Despite what they ended with, it's far from a pain in the ass for Zlochevsky. The foundations, which are barely seen under the snow, are another future project. It's not going to be a grand one like the industrial park, just a villa community. You must have already guessed who's going to build it. 8 hectares on the lake shore. Nearby are the mansions of Enerhoatam and Ukrovtodor leadership. The land is worth more than $1 million. It's registered in the already familiar Infox's head's name. 10 more hectares in a neighboring district. They have already laid the villa foundations there. The owner is Marat Akhmedov, Zlochevsky's manager. Marat Akhmedov attracted our attention back when Zlochevsky was Minister of Ecology. Then, Akhmedov's company supplied the Ministry of Ecology with equipment.
У 1926 році на цьому місці двом пастушкам, які пасли через.
In 1926, 2 shepherds were tending cows here when they had a theophany. This is where Zlochevsky is building his only non-profit object, a temple complex theophany near Kiev. This is the only property that the owner of which does not have to be untangled from a knot of managers and companies. The cross plainly states Zlochevsky. In 2012, the Zlochevsky's family decided to build a temple here. Why here? Because one of the shepherds was Nikolai Vladislavovich Zlochevsky. The temple is still being constructed. The altar screen is being assembled. They plan on expanding the temple. We have laid the foundations. In the long run, we are going to build a monastery here, or an almshouse. By the way, about places of worship. In 2014, this luxury men's shoe shop was opened near Kreshchatyk. It's similar to the church, Zlochevsky's name at the entrance. Why does a gas tycoon need this small business? As it may be the case with the temple, as a hobby. But 3 years ago, the opening of this shop seemed unacceptable. How could a fugitive conduct business in Ukraine after the revolution? Well, he technically can. The shoes were registered in a security firm head's name. Every morning, cars pick up guards at his house to take them to Zlochevsky's mansions by the dam. But the issue is not with the technical side, but with the ethical. How could a fugitive, well, a person who is considered to be a fugitive, buy land by the port, licenses for gas, projects for the industrial park, and if we are to believe Onashenko, add criminal cases to the grocery list of his new rich life? That's all for today. You can watch any of our episodes on YouTube, write us on social media, and if you have an interesting topic, feel free to email us. See you on air in a week. Goodbye.
В телеефірі побачимось вже за тиждень. До зустрічі.